Well, we've had a hectic weekend with 4 games. Time to take it a little bit easy as the new week begins. We called it Manic Monday yesterday. Will the two teams give us a bit of a treat? Once again, it's a clash between a team at the top and a team just about, not quite propping up the table, but somewhere there. It's Gujarat against Hyderabad. This is the clash that comes from the DY Patil Stadium. Here we are on Cricbuzz Live to look ahead to that. And I'm joined on the panel by Michael Vaughan, who was there yesterday throughout the doubleheader, and back on the hot seat from the stadium, Harsha Bhogle.
Look, I don't have the kind of backdrop, unfortunately, that Michael has. I'm just turning around. Okay, I've just got a little hotel painting there. I don't have fancy shirts and bats and all in the background, but we'll get by. They've gone down the highway to DY Patil today. Let's see what happens. You did mention they're almost at the bottom. You cannot be at the bottom because that is firmly occupied at the moment.
Yeah, Michael, in terms, we're going to obviously talk about a lot of matchups, but the most obvious one, as I looked out over there, is Rashid Khan wondering, am I wearing the right shirt? Yes, I am. I'm wearing blue.
Yeah, and what a signing it's been as well. I think Gujarat have done real clever business. I think, getting Hardik Pandya, a proven winner of the IPL in the Mumbai Indian camp, I think he's probably taken a lot of what they do well to the new franchise. I think the bowling attack with Lockie Ferguson, Shami is outstanding. And Shubman Gill, a young player that's made the move over, as we've seen already. He got so close to that first century. A wonderful young talent. And, we've seen it with Kuldeep Yadav. The move to Delhi has worked for the young leg spinner. And I think Shubman Gill is in a similar kind of state that a move can be good for young players. And it certainly seems to be the case for Shubman Gill and Kuldeep Yadav.
Harsha, yesterday in the course of our discussion, we just happened to come up with this little plan to start. Why did we let him go 11? And of course, the likes of Kuldeep Yadav would fit in there nicely. In the context of today's game, we have to wait for Rashid to bowl, of course, but I'm sure Shubman Gill is already in that as far as Kolkata are concerned.
I could even understand the Rashid Khan move. I could understand it was financial and they already had committed a certain amount of money to somebody. But the one I didn't understand was that one, because they preferred Venkatesh Iyer. I know that Shubman Gill is one of Brendan McCullum's favorites, and he actually looked to Shubman Gill as becoming a future KKR captain. He'd talk him up every time. And I was a little surprised they let him go. Maybe they just thought that Venkatesh Iyer led the revival with his bold batting at the top. Shubman wasn't quite doing that. They had to retain Varun Chakravarti. They thought that'll complete the bowling. So it was a tricky one. One of the sides that retained 4. But yeah, that was one that surprised me. And he's looking happy. If you look at the top 4, when we did our pre-IPL analysis, we said one of the problems with Gujarat would be the top 4. That's been solved by Shubman Gill doing well. And in a fabulous move that's working so far, Hardik himself has gone up to bat at number 4. Because as you went down, their batting was all right. He said, okay, I'll bat at 4.
Michael, you were going to add a name to that list?
Yeah, I actually think so. We'll talk about an 11 that have been the best moves, if you like, but I think we should also do an 11 of the worst retained players who would probably have been better off moving. You've got to go both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, in fact, that's a good point Michael makes, because if you think about it, we've already had a couple in different franchises who have been dropped this early in the tournament. Yashasvi Jaiswal, one example. Umran Malik, well, he's great to watch, but not quite effective. And Abdul Samad was dropped. And stays dropped.
I think with Yashasvi, there might have been a niggle somewhere which might have come in handy, because that allowed Padikkal to go back and open the batting and just bat in a position that he was more handy, that he was more comfortable in. Yeah, there've been a few. I noticed yesterday that somebody who opens the batting in the Big Bash has batted 3 and 5 for Australia, has been a great finisher in the T20 World Cup. Came into bat at number 8. In fact, 7 and 8 didn't bowl. There were especially 7 and 8 yesterday. So Stoinis almost pulled it out, but he's batting at 8. Surely that's going to change.
Yeah, it will.
So yeah, that was an interesting one.
And it gave us lots of fodder, Harsha, on conversation, from the afternoon game with Safraz to the night game with Marcus Stoinis. So we've got a lot of specialist batsmen in there. But Abdul Samad was one name I mentioned. Let's actually go and check out the lineups as far as the two teams are concerned. Kane Williamson, of course, won the toss and has asked Hardik and company to bat first. 21 out of 21. No one's decided to bat first yet. Who's going to blink first? Hyderabad 11, Harsha. And as you can see there, they are unchanged. So that little change they made, Abdul Samad out, stays out. And this is the way it looks.
Dare I say, so far it's only been 3 games, but there's a player that everybody on Cricbuzz and everybody around the cricket world respects enormously. But he's a retention for a lot of money, and he hasn't got going either. And we're talking of Kane Williamson, aren't we? Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at that side, Williamson has to come good. Luckily for them, they put Abhishek Sharma up the order. I think Abdul Samad is having the same problem that Riyan Parag is having, which is if you're a bit bowler batting at 6 or 7, meaning just an over or 2 here and there, very often you end the season having played 30, 40 balls. That's all. So you don't have much to do. And I think he suffered from that. They all need to move up. Like Abhishek Sharma has moved up and has been given the freedom to go. But yeah, Williamson needs to get going. The moment Williamson starts to get going, that side looks different. And it also depends on whether it's Pooran, the West Indies player, or Pooran, the IPL player that takes the field.
Mm. But the one thing that seems to be missing, and I was just making a few scribbles an hour ago, and I'm just going to throw out a little bit of a hypothesis here. I'm looking at the points table, and there seems to be some sort of correlation between the teams who have an attacking wrist spinner, and I can put wrist/mystery spinner if you include a Narayan and Chakravarti, and the 3 teams who don't quite have that happen to be Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Chennai. Now, Mumbai have Murugan Ashwin, but he's not quite come off yet. The rest of the bowling hasn't looked good. Chennai have Jadeja and Moin Ali. They've only used Thikshana once. All the other 7 teams have a Rashid Khan, a Bishnoi, a Chakravarti, a Kuldeep Yadav, Rahul Chahar, Yuzvendra Chahal, Wanindo Hasaranga. Is there a coincidence, or am I reading too much into it?
No, I mean, if you think about T20 cricket and you think back to yesterday and the lack of Stoinis being up the order, that was overthinking T20 cricket. You know, one basic principle that most teams around the world like to go for in T20 cricket is at least one spinner that can spin it either way. If not 2 now. You want to have 2 kind of spin options that go either way. And you look at Chahal and Ashwin, Narayan and Chakravarti, you've got players and bowlers that can go either way. And also you want a left armour. You look at what Delhi did yesterday. They produced a team with 2 left armours in it. It worked. I think the basics of T20 cricket over the years that you've seen teams be successful are having spinners that can go either way and a good left armour. You look at Bolt, the start that he gave Rajasthan last night, terrific left arm swing bowling. So they're the basics of T20 cricket that you think, yeah, absolutely every team needs a spinner that can go either way, if not 2, and a left arm over bowler. All this tinkering with the batting lineups, I actually think that's overcomplicating the game. I think that's just overthinking, overanalysis, kind of being a little bit too smart. I don't think teams need to be too smart. I think the principles of what has been successful in T20 cricket are pretty rock solid in the last few years.
Harsha, your thoughts
but you're right about
on the spin?
Yeah, you're right about the wrist spin. And say you mentioned Mumbai and you mentioned Chennai, the 2 teams that are at the bottom. Mumbai picked 2 wrist spinners. Murugan Ashwin had a decent season with Punjab, but he hadn't set the tournament alight. And Mayank Markanday is, everyone who sees him says they're very impressed, but he doesn't get game time. I think that might change shortly. And you look at Chennai, they only picked 1 leg spinner called Prashant Solanki. No one knows much about him. So I think it's become an imperative, because on these tracks, the wrist spinner is going to get the ball to deviate much. There's not a lot still for the finger spinner, unless you're as crafty as Ashwin is in the middle overs or at the top, or Washington who's got his own way of doing it. So you're spot on. I think every team, and if you've got a guy who does it left-handed, it was wonderful talking to Kuldeep Yadav at one of the presentations, and he took 2 names. First, he mentioned Rohit Sharma, who here is in the opposite team, as someone who's encouraged him. And he said he turned up to the Delhi Capitals, and he said, when the coach tells you you're going to play 14 games, he said, it's funny how your action and your speed and your rhythm and everything falls into place if your coach tells you you're going to play all 14 games. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a confidence associated with the wrist spinners, which they're getting in their sides too. But I think that's a big factor behind Kuldeep coming back. Mm-hmm. And Chahal, Chahal is bowling beautifully.
Well, it was 500 meters apart, we often talk about Kulcha bowling in tandem for India. Well, they kind of bowled in tandem on Marine Drive yesterday and picked up 8 wickets between them, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think there's something very special about seeing, you look at Rashid Khan, the way that he delivers his leg spin, it's quick and it's into the surface more than not. But with Kuldeep Yadav, I just love to see flight. I just think spin for me is that great trade. The hardest skill is to deliver leg spin. That's why our late great friend Shane Warne was the master. He just had the ability to get the ball above the eye lines at the right time. And I still think, and I hope that we're in an era that these leg spinners that can spin it either way are coached to give the ball a bit of flight, to deceive the batsman out the crease, to see a ball out of the hand and you think you can get to it, and all of a sudden it goes beyond the outside edge of the bat and the wicketkeeper just whips off the bat. I think it's one of the great sights in the game, whether it's Test cricket, 50-over cricket, but certainly in T20 cricket. I just like to see a little bit of flight, which is exactly what Chahal and exactly what Kuldeep Yadav has been doing over the last couple of games.
Yeah, and Kuldeep Gautam benefited from playing at the Brabant. The Brabant's one ground that has very deep pockets in the ground. There are some boundaries that are 85, 86 meters. At the Wankhede, it's much tougher because there are some boundaries. If you stretch long enough, you touch the spectator. But at the Brabant, there are boundaries that are deep. And so you can get the wrist spinner in if you've chosen your end right, especially if you're playing at a strip that's slightly off the center. Like today's one is slightly off the center at DY Patil. So one side is 63, 64 meters square, the other 74, 75 meters square. But at the Brabant, when you play at one that's slightly off center, one boundary becomes 84, 85 meters. And that's fantastic for the spinner.
A lot of focus on Hyderabad minus Rashid Khan. They do actually have a wrist spinner in their ranks. At what point will we see him will be a matter of conjecture. Shreyas Gopal is in there, and he has been a match winner for at least for Rajasthan in pink in the past. But let's not talk about people who are not in the 11. Instead, let's look at the opposition, Michael. Rashid Khan may not be wearing orange. He's very much going to be on the field. They're also unchanged. The two, what were referred to as forced changes in Darshan Nalkande and Sai Sudarshan, they skipped their places. So obviously the little performance that came from them, they took their opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, they got away with the last game, really, with that tremendous striking at the end by Rahul Tewatia. But, I just like the look of the side. I just think it's got pretty much everything that you require. Got good left-hand, right-hand combinations. Wade at the top needs some runs. Not really struck yet in his first 3 games, but he's a very dangerous player if he gets his rhythm. I like that combination at the top of Wade and Gill. Hardik Pandya is the key. He's pretty much doing everything. He's Ian Botham. He thinks he's, going to bowl with the new ball in the middle. He's taking that responsibility. He's batting at number 4. He looks like he's got a really nice manner about him as a captain, which is great to see. And that bowling, particularly that trio, Shami, Lockie Ferguson and Rashid Khan, if you could add in a Trent Bolt into that and have a world-class left armour, that'd be right up there with the great T20 bowling attack. But that trio is going to cause, a lot of problems today. And I'm looking at Abhishek in particular, who played so well in the last game. How's he going to cope with the pace? The pace of Ferguson and Shami. Can Shami get that ball swinging around? So it's okay doing it when the pace isn't there. I'll be interested if Abhishek can do it tonight when there's a little bit of pace on offer.
Michael talked about seeing the wristies toss it up. If you're at the ground, it has been so much fun watching the genuine fast bowlers in the power play.
Yeah,
Shami in the power play, Bolt in the power play. There's KL Rahul getting 2 unplayable balls and getting 2 first ball ducks of a player of his caliber. But we're seeing some wonderful bowling up front simply because they're leaving some grass on. They're slightly bouncy tracks. And the correlation that you brought about, just extend it a little further to the best bowling sides are on top of the table. And we are discovering in this tournament that flowers are blooming all over India. There's hitters, bright young batsmen, even bowlers now, but young batsmen who are coming out from everywhere. So the teams that have taken care of their bowling are the teams that are doing well because somebody or the other is coming up. Look at Sai Sudarshan. He's 20 years old. What has he played? He's played 1 season, Mushtaq Ali for Tamil Nadu. Before that, where's he come from? Laika Kovai Kings in the Tamil Nadu Premier League. Where has Abhinav Manohar come from? Karnataka Premier League, barely played in the Mushtaq Ali, just 4 or 5 games behind him. But these scouts are picking up these young fellows And if you look after the bowling, the batting seems to be looking after itself.
Well, surely now, Harsha, with all this talent and the extra 2 teams and the opportunities for more Indian players to mix in with the best, surely India are going to start competing in World Cups. Just saying. They don't compete.
Listen.
They haven't competed for years. They kind of stumble away to semis, or that's true. There's no point in beating around the bush. Indians' white ball team for a while now has underperformed.
Right, gentlemen, we've heard the argument for the motion. Now
Thank you for coming to my rescue. One day, Gautam, if we can be provocative enough, let's all pick the top 7 for India at the T20 World Cup based on what we are seeing. But that's for another day. It's the toughest thing in the world to do. But you've got to take some tough calls, yeah.
But on a completely different topic, I was trying to react to Michael comparing Hardik to an Ian Botham, and I thought he was probably going to go for a Ben Stokes. But I think, Botham, Stokes, either way, it's sort of almost that bully who comes and says, it's my bat, my ball, I'll bat and bowl where I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes as a captain, we're seeing it with Ravi Jadeja at Chennai. You don't kind of operate yourself as you did under another captain because you're not quite sure when to bowl, when to take responsibility, when not to. I would always advise captains that can do everything to, if you do too much too soon, do it that way rather than the other way around. Go for it and try and take responsibility and bowl the pressure overs, because I think that the rest of the team and particularly the players will look at you and go, we've got a captain that's willing to take the risks. And I think T20 cricket is about that. It's about when are you willing to take the risk. And if you're doing that yourself as a leader, I think all the other players will follow suit. You look at Rishabh Pant at Delhi, they got the win yesterday, but I think we're crying out for Rishabh to play the Rishabh way as a leader. Just go out and play your way. And I think everyone will then follow Rishabh in playing that expansive game, which is exactly the right way to play in this era of white ball cricket. So, yeah, I'm liking Hardik Pandya. He's saying, look, whatever the pressure's on, I'll have the ball or I'll go out and bat. And I think that's a really good, strong message that he's sending to his team.
Yeah, you look at all these big, fast bowling, big hitting all-rounders, and we don't even go as far back as the Kapil Dev, Richard Hadley, Botham, but we've seen a few of them in England, a couple in Australia. But you look at a Flintoff who played a lot under Michael. You look at Ben Stokes now. They're so full of self-belief. They want to be in the thick of it all. There's a reason Ben Stokes pulled out a test match, pulled out a World Cup final, because they revel being in that role. And Hardik Pandya now wants to be in there, and he's enjoying being captain because he's saying, I'll do it, because he's backing himself to do it. And this is, if Hardik Pandya can keep his fitness, I actually messaged him. I said, 140, are you sure? He said, back is holding up, everything is fine. So Hardik Pandya playing like this is the best good news for India ahead of that T20 World Cup that India are going to win, and when I'm going to have a conversation with Michael.
You got no chance in Australia. No chance.
I never thought we'd get a preview to that so quickly.
Maybe if you get them, if you get a World Cup, which the next 50 over World Cup is back on Indian soil with a few dusty wickets, you've got a sniff. You got a sniff, but other than that, not at the minute.
All right, very good.
Okay,
very good. We probably have a very interesting conversation once the show is over, and
it will
keep it going.
The reason is the India and the IPL hasn't yet got there, and I hope it never gets to like England and the EPL, where you've got the league that's most talked about. But yeah.
Hey, we got to a final. We got to a final in the Euros. It was only just Italy that beat us on penalties. Come on, we're improving.
It's not always that you get an Ashes captain on the defensive. I'm enjoying this.
Oh dear, lovely. I can just sit all day and listen to them. But let's try and come back to the game. It's going to be Gujarat batting first. Maybe not their preferred option, obviously. But the one person probably we want to get some runs from, Michael's already mentioned it, is Wade going through the Darcy Short phenomenon about the conditions being so different from the Big Bash and here in India.
And the Daniel Sams phenomenon, and there's so many other, all the Richardson phenomenons.
Aiden Blizzard.
Who come from Are so many. You can go further back. Luke Palmersbach, remember Luke Palmersbach? But there have been many who've looked good in the Big Bash and who haven't looked as good in the IPL. I don't know whether he's better off finishing the innings down at the bottom, but I think he's a couple of innings away because they could easily play Saha in that position, and they've got options with another overseas player down the order. So they could be close there.
I don't think he's not a player that I would be manoeuvring out the side just yet. I've seen him in the Big Bash quite a lot, and he does have little periods where it doesn't quite go his way, and all of a sudden 100. And then he goes and he gets on a roll, and he's that kind of player. You'd say he's probably 2 games. You need a score today and probably in the next game to prove his worth. But I wouldn't rule out Matthew Wade just yet. I don't think I'll look at him and think he hasn't got a game to be able to score runs on Indian wickets. I think he has. I think he's got the game. He's got all the sweep shots and the tricks. He can do that. There are a few Australian players are very rigid and quite hard hands, and they find it difficult on the slower wickets. But I don't put Matthew Wade in that category. I think he has got a game that can be successful on Indian wickets. He probably just needs a little bit of fortune. He needs to get away, and if he does, it might be today that he gets that score.
The only reason I bring that out, Gautam, is they have the option of getting in the left-hander that we were talking about, get someone like a Dominic Drakes in for Abhinav Manohar. So and Dominic Drakes is good enough to bat at 7. That strengthens their bowling even more. Perfectly capable of batting at 7, and then have Saha in his place. But as Michael said, I don't know if they're looking at it right away because they're winning. They're winning. He's keeping all right. It's not that he's kept badly. So they'll wait another couple of games.
We'll wait and see. He maybe went too early for a bit of a cute shot in the last game and got dismissed. So we'll see his approach early on because they are, in fact, batting first and they'll want a few extra on the board. We've got all of you writing in plenty of questions that you throw at us on hashtag #AskCricbuzz What's the one we've picked for today? Let's get it out for Michael and Harsha. And this one, it had to be Hardik Pandya. We've seen some great combinations. Thank you, Dheeraj, by the way, for that. We've seen some great combinations this season, but one partnership no one is talking about is Ashish Nehra and Hardik Pandya. What's got them clicking? Now, Harsha, we can go to town on this one because we know Ashish Nehra really well.
There's another partnership in there as well that didn't work at RCB, but is working so far at Gujarat Titans, and that's Ashish Nehra and Gary Kirsten. 2 completely different people. Ashish Nehra he's got his theories. Ashish Nehra's got more theories than number of deliveries in a T20 game. And Gary Kirsten likes to sit back and just look after players. So I think from that point of view, it's been a structured thing. And what's helping is, and this is something I spoke to from the Gujarat Titans management, is they've created a post in between to shield the playing side from the owner's side. And that role is being played at the moment by Vikram Solanki. And Vikram Solanki is an interesting character in that he's English if you want him to be, but he also speaks I think he's Gujarati, but he speaks Hindi as well. And so he's that buffer in between that's allowing the players to play the way they want to and staying away from the team management. I think that is working too, but neither Hardik nor Ashish, I think, they're both very instinct driven. And Ashish is very, very much a bowler. He's never stopped being a bowler even after retirement. And I think that's why you'll see it's a side that's stacked with bowling options, fewer batting options.
Yeah, they look a good combination. I mean, I'll rest judgment until I see them lose a couple of games to see how they react.
Yes.
They've won every game, and it's always plain sailing. The leadership and the coaching staff always look like they're producing miracles when you're winning games of cricket. I always judge management teams, captains in particular, when you've lost a game or two. Can you then come back and can you galvanise your group, get confidence back into a group when you've had a couple of iffy performances? I'll mention a combination that I'm enjoying is Kumar Sangakkara and Paddy Upton at Rajasthan. I like that combination. I think you've got Paddy Upton's psychology, Kumar Sangakkara's magnificent cricket brain, and the fact that they retired Ashwin out yesterday is just...
It's just down your street. I mean, when that happened, I thought there's Michael sitting there enjoying it.
I love that kind of thinking.
Well, we were lucky to have Michael on the show yesterday, so we had a nice chat about it. And Michael, I don't know if you saw the interview with Kumar at the end. He was very candid. He didn't hide away from it. He said, yes, this is what we did. I made a mistake. I should probably have sent Rian Parag even before Van der Dusen.
Rassi.
I didn't. Yeah. And this was my way of saying that, listen, we need to do something. Let's change it up.
What was interesting in what he said was that Ashwin kept looking back and saying, should I now? Should I now? So obviously, in one of the timeouts, and the timeout gets derided a lot, but those are things you can discuss in these strategic timeouts or whatever, advertising timeouts. But I think they had discussed that. And so he said he kept looking back, saying, is it time now? Is it time now? And they said, okay, this is time now. But the funniest thing was asking Shimron Hetma, I said, what did you think of it? He said, I had no clue. I turned around, I see my partner putting his bat under his armpit and walking off.
I think when you have, I call them trailblazers. When you have a trailblazer do something, you just watch now. All of the teams will be thinking, right, when do we do it?
Yeah.
Now it's been done. All teams will be thinking, right, okay, and there'll be some batters actually who are out there just not playing well enough on that given day. It might not just be their surface. It just might not be that they're seeing it quite perfectly as they have done in the past. And it might be that, replacing Ashwin, who is a very good batter, but not at the high end, with someone that can strike it like Prag is kind of understandable. But there may be a contentious one in the next few games where there's actually a batter out there who can strike it, but isn't striking it well enough. And you go, in you come. In you come.
Well,
there's someone
I can tell you
that can hit it further than you today. In you come.
I can tell you the best example I've had, and I saw it from a few feet away in the CPL, was when big Rakeem Cornwall, all 152 kgs of him, was standing and delivering. He got to a 50 and then ran out of steam. He just ran out of steam. He just could not.
Tired.
He was not fit enough. He was just too tired. And Darren Sammy called him back. Sammy was into back next. They had 20 to get off 9 balls, and Kieron Pollard was not happy at all. He was the opposition captain. He walked Rakeem Cornwall all the way back and let him know exactly what he thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
One last thing before we finish. I saw Darren Ganga's pitch report, and he said it might grip a little, and I'd like to see how the finger spinners in the Hyderabad team bowl on it. It'll be the best time to bowl, because Dew has been playing truant some days, it's coming some days, but this is the best time to bowl. So I think that'll be a big factor.
Yeah, and they've got a finger spinner who bowls in the power play. He's done a lot. Washington Sundar. We were wanting to talk about him, but we had enough scintillating conversations underway. But I think that line sums it up. Look out for Washington Sundar at some point in time to be effective. Quick one, joy factor question for the day. You love your quiz questions, all of you. Fastest fingers first. Which Indian cricketer changed his jersey number to a particular numeric, which in Hindi or Urdu sounded like his father's first name? So get thinking. This is not Google time. Get thinking. Harsha, don't give it away. Don't give it away.
No. I can't remember. I heard about it, but I can't remember.
Keep it that way. Michael's wanting desperately to jump in here.
Yeah, I've got it.
All right, fine. We'll come back to you, Michael, on that one. That's our joy factor question. As the man we talked about, who goes by the name of Matthew Wade, who smashed the first ball of the match for 4. Of course, he can play on Indian pitches. We told you so all along. Final prediction. Michael, would you like to go first for our 20 overs for Gujarat?
Gautam, you know my theory.
Yeah, all right. Fair enough. I've got yours.
160.
Lovely. 160.
172.
160, 172. 4 off the first ball. Do I read into that? Do I high ball? I always mess up when I high ball, but I'll try it one more time. Every time I've highballed my other 2 guests, I've messed up, but I will go for a 179. Not too much. 179.
Your other guests have messed up your decision. Or did you just get it wrong and you're looking for a scapegoat somewhere?
No. The bar was set too high and I wanted to go higher. It's my fault. I'm taking the fun. Don't worry. Full responsibility taken. I lost. Thank you, gentlemen. We will see all of you 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox. We'll have much more fun as the day goes on. For now, it's a quick reminder. Kane Williamson's won the toss, has invited Gujarat to bat first, and we shall find out how far they've got in the 10th over. For now, for Cricbuzz Live, from Michael, Harsha, and myself, we'll see you soon.